There's a study going viral right now that says that nearly 63% of men from 18 to 29 have no romantic connection to a woman. And most of those guys aren't even looking. They've just left the dating scene.
If you're a boy and you ever plan on being intimate with a girl,
no thank you, I'm good.
My question is, did these guys leave too soon? Are they giving up just before things get good for them? I want to look at some of the reasons why guys are leaving to see if maybe there's some workarounds or some ways to conquer some of these problems. Because who knows, maybe if we can solve some of it, then maybe we don't need to take the black pill and hit the exit. Okay, so problem number one, you know it, you hate it, hypergamy. Let's dive in.
This is what I've called the tall girl problem. So as women rise up through their own competence hierarchy in education and employment, they further shorten down the potential pool of eligible men that are as educated or more educated and as employed or more employed than they are. What this causes is a very large group of men toward the bottom of this distribution to be essentially invisible to women. It causes a very large number of women, an increasing cohort, to compete for an increasingly small group of turbocharged super performers at the top. These guys, the super high value guys, have a wealth of options, so they are commitment averse, which can cause them to use and discard many of these women, which then causes most of these women to resent men overall. And then the guys that were forgotten at the bottom that say, oh, hang on a second, I didn't use and discard you. I haven't even been seen by you. No, all men are whatever it might be.
Yeah, so what he's describing here is basically a math problem. Right around 80% of women only want 20% of guys. That leaves 20% of women for 80% of the guys, and you've got 60% of guys who never hear a yes from a woman. And what do you know? Right around 60% of guys are single, and most of them have quit. And yeah, if you just look at the raw numbers, then it's pretty bleak. It looks like, yeah, guys should be getting out of town right about now. But let's imagine for the sake of argument that the math is a little bit more elastic than we think it is. Because the conversation goes something like this. The girls will say, well, the men need to just do better so that we find them more attractive. And, the guys will respond with, yes, but even if we do that, women will still only want the guys at the top. So if all the guys get better, women will just shift their selection preferences up to compensate. It's discouraging for guys because it looks like they'll have to fight and claw their way up to the upper echelons of men and kick another guy out in order to find a woman. And then once they're there, other men will be clawing their way up to kick him out of his spot. So he's going to have to constantly fight to maintain it. And that just looks like a stressful, impossible mountain to climb for a lot of guys. The problem is there's more to the story than just what these guys are talking about. Because we forget that there's certain benchmarks that women are looking for. There's certain markers for attractiveness that you can reach that have nothing to do with any of the people around you. For example, do you have a confident masculine presence to you, or are you more timid and kind of soft? One of those is attractive, the other isn't, and you kind of are or not. Either you've built that up or you haven't. It has nothing to do with the people around you. Same as, are you an outward flowing person? Do you bring enjoyment with you? Or are you hungry for other people to satisfy you? And again, you're either one or the other. You're either outward flowing or you're inward sucking. And one of those is attractive. The other isn't. Same with decisiveness. Are you quick and firm in your decision making, or are you just kind of, which way is the wind blowing? Or even anxiety. Like, are you a anxious chihuahua that's just kind of nervous and scared about everything all the time? Or have you done the work to stabilize your mental health so that you bring a calming presence with you? And again, none of those things have anything to do with the people around you. There's no limit to the number of guys who can become a non-anxious presence, or become confident and masculine, or become an outward flowing person. And at this point, I can already hear the people chiming in the comments. Yeah, but what about the girls? How come we're the ones that have to put in the effort to change? Why don't they need to do any work on themselves and work on their standards and bring that down for us? You're absolutely right. That's a valid question. And I'm going to try to answer that in more depth in another video. So if you want to see that, hit the subscribe button. But for now, just think about how your time and energy are your most precious resources and you don't have a whole lot of them. You want to put them into the things that'll get you the best results. Really, the only things that get you good results are the things you can control, which are yourself and That's pretty much it. Bottom line is there's no limit to the number of men that can become more attractive by checking more of those checkboxes. The math is more elastic than we give it credit for. I know that we can't get around it entirely because, yes, women will always aim up, but fortunately, man does not live by math alone. So what else might be causing us to quit?
Me Too was a necessary requirement to call powerful men to account for misbehaving and using their power to gain sexual access to women. What it sought to do was to sanitize the toxic elements of certain males' behavior. What it's ended up doing is it's sterilized almost all of it. 80% of men report not approaching a woman because they are scared of being seen as creepy. Women are terrified of being approached by men because of stories of sexual assault, of dangers within the workplace. Men are terrified of approaching women for fear of being accused of all of those things.
I heard someone say once that Me Too is essentially using a nuke to take out a building, and we destroyed the entire city with it. I saw another video that really illustrates what guys are actually experiencing when this happens. Let me take a look at this.
Is it just me, or do men not approach women anymore?
I'm literally shaking right now because I just had a man approach me in a park.
We have noticed that men my age and younger are no longer walking up to women and trying to engage in conversation. They're no longer coming up asking for a number. Why do you guys not do that?
Stop approaching women when they're alone.
No, men are weird. Stop talking to women you don't know.
Oh, single men, why are you don't pursue anymore?
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Guys are legitimately scared to talk to girls because they don't know what they're going to get accused of. I know people who've gotten accused of some things that they didn't deserve. But what's the workaround for this? How do we solve this problem? And this might sound a little cliche, but the best thing you can do for this is to get plugged in at a good church. I know it can be tough to find a good church, but you need good people who know your character, who can defend you if something weird happens. Right? If she tries to say, he was being a creep or whatever, when you're just trying to shoot your shot, you've got people who can come up and say, hey, no, I know this guy. That's not him. That, and we've all heard the trope about how the only difference between flirting and harassment is whether or not she thought the guy was hot. Yeah, your only other defense here is to just become more attractive, which we'll come back to that later. Because this part of the rabbit hole goes a little bit deeper. It's not just about getting accused of a crime necessarily. There's this whole way of treating men that women have if they're not attracted to them. It's not just that you're invisible to them. If she doesn't find you attractive, she doesn't see you as a person. I like the way that Homath visualizes it with a little thing, the little ghost. So if you go approach a girl, it's not even that you get a polite no thank you. You get rejected in the most dehumanizing ways possible. Because she either sees you as an ick, right? You're just this gross blob of disgusting flesh, or she sees you as a horrible monster that could be out to hurt her. Either way, she doesn't see you as a person. And so she doesn't feel the need to treat you like a human being with dignity and respect. You're an NPC as far as she's concerned. So she tries to ignore you as best as she can, which is super isolating and discouraging on its own. But even if you do approach her, she's so grossed out by you that she acts like you're violating her with just your presence alone.
That one there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
It feels horrible as a guy because how low and vile of a disgusting non-person do you have to be for someone to treat you like you're committing a crime just by talking to them? So yeah, it's starting to make a lot more sense why guys would rather quit than keep being treated like they're less than human. But is there anything we can do to get around this problem? Well, you're in luck because I have a whole video about the ick and what you can do about it. I'll put a link to that at the end. The biggest thing you can do right now is to become more of an outward flowing presence, like I mentioned earlier. If you're already satisfied with your life, you're content through your faith, and you give enjoyment and approval to other people, that's a pretty good protection from the ick. The other simple, practical thing that you can do is to make sure that she sees other people treating you like a person before you go talk to her. Because if she sees other people that she could trust talking to you, it kind of puts the pin back in the grenade and disarms a bit of that fear. Because she's thinking, no, if those people can trust him, maybe so can I. And for me, again, the only place that this has ever worked is at a good church. Again, I know, hard to find a good church, but it's the only place I've had any luck with that. So let's move on. We've talked about how women see us, but what about them? They're a pretty big part of the issue too.
We've decided as a gender that personal development is apparently a non-issue. Most of us have a God complex that is being fueled by toxic therapy culture, which is ironically making us worse, not better. Young women have been brainwashed into thinking that we're perfect exactly the way we are, no matter how fat, lazy, mentally ill that could be.
Woof. Ugh, ladies, I want to say I'm sorry, but I know a few of you having a little trouble keeping your fingers out of the fridge. So she said it, not me.
The glorification of hyper-selfishness propagandized us into the belief that every last one of us is a 9 or 10.
Ask the ladies to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10.
10.
I'm a 10. 10.
So y'all are perfect.
Yep, perfect.
Every girl is a 10.
I don't
Every woman's a 10? Is every guy a 10?
No.
Absolutely not.
The lie is so pervasive that we not only lie to ourselves, we lie to each other.
You are physically flawless.
Because of all this lying, we only entertain interest from men who are 9s or 10s. But realistically, we're likely only 6s and 7s ourselves. We project and accuse men of being superficial, but modern women are the most superficial beings to ever exist.
Men are so superficial.
Would you date a guy that's shorter than you?
Absolutely not.
What has happened is women have...
Yeah, this goes on for a while. So basically, the quality of women appears to be going down. And her whole premise is that that's because women have been taught not to ask themselves the question, what can I do to become better? The dating world, as far as they're concerned, is just about them. It's just a way to funnel men to them. So they don't bring a whole lot to the table for men anymore. Men just don't see the appeal in a lot of these women. And I'll be honest, I can't think of a short-term solution to this problem. I mean, if you can think of something, definitely drop it down in the comments, but the only things I can think of are more long-term. Like, we might need to get back to telling women the truth. We've been telling them lies that make them feel good for a long time now, and that's not working out well for anyone, including them. And also, when you see these behaviors, don't reward it. The only way that women might change some of these behaviors is if they start to feel consequences for them. Because guys, we need to just collectively stop giving women the emotional benefits of a relationship without her having to put in the effort to work on herself. In other words, don't let her friend zone you. Don't let her keep you on a backup roster while she waits around for a man that she can't get. Because if she's keeping you on a roster and she's not dating you, it's not going to change. It's not going to get better. She's not going to just wake up one day and be like, oh, I guess he was the guy for me all along. It's time to get out. Okay, there's more to this. Let's keep going, because we got more problems.
Women are 70% more likely to initiate divorce, according to the American Sociological Association. Men know if they choose the wrong woman, it will end in divorce. And the research shows that she will be the one to benefit, not him. While both spouses lose, men typically suffer a larger hit because of child support and alimony. Men are more willing to put up with loneliness because in their mind, they'll still get to keep their money and dignity. Plus, thanks to the pandemic, they have learned that they can also get all of their sexual and self-esteem needs met without leaving their couch.
Yeah, guys learned that before the pandemic. The crass way to say it is that women have essentially priced themselves out of their own market. They've made themselves not worth it. A woman can cheat on you, leave you, take all your money on the way out the door, and then get applauded for it as she does it, right? She can act like a villain and get treated like a hero. And if we look at the comments, it's wild. These guys are they are fed up and done with this. 27, left the dating market 5 years ago because of 0 results. Women never gave me a chance. Why not just enjoy myself? This guy, us men aren't the lost cause. You are the lost cause. Well, we walked away from you in order to protect ourselves, financially, psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Yeah, guys don't feel very safe with women right now. And whose fault is that? Been single for almost 10 years after seeing a lot of my friends and people I know go through nasty divorces and horrible relationships, including one involving a friend being jailed on false accusations of abuse. This one's wild. So we have an experienced divorce lawyer telling guys, stay safe, stay single. Dang. And this one kind of sums up a lot of it. She lists at one point the best traits for women to have: nurturing, sensitivity, sweetness, supportiveness, gentleness, warmth. When was the last time any of you guys met a woman like that besides your grandma? Exactly. Whew. And yeah, we all agree that that would be great stuff for women to have, but finding a woman that has that stuff is extremely rare because women are taught that those are bad things for them to have. Women are taught basically, no, you need to be more like a man. You need to be cold and callous and arrogant and brash and harsh. A lot of the reason why guys are leaving is basically guys are not seeing value in the women that are out there. They don't want to be that stuff and they don't want to offer that stuff, but they want men to be and do everything for them. So it's not a fair trade. And then also women can leave and take everything on the way out the door. And men are getting out of the dating market to protect themselves from that. So how do we get around this problem? We don't have any laws or societal norms to protect us from any of those dangers. So if you want to be in a relationship, you're going to have to find other ways to protect yourself. And I can only think of a few. If you can think of more, again, leave them down in the comments. But for one, you need a solid community. The friends you keep, the church you pick, your community matters a lot because those people are going to be speaking into your life and into her life, right? If you don't have a solid community around you that's supporting your marriage, yeah, your chances of divorce are going to go up. This is actually statistically true. The church in general has the same divorce rate as the secular world, but churches that teach the Bible and support biblical marriage actually have a lower rate of divorce. Another thing that protects you is her attraction to you. If you can maintain that, then you don't have quite as much to worry about, because if she's looking at you going, oh, this guy is the best guy that I could possibly be with, oh man, I just have a golden ticket with this man, she's not gonna be thinking about leaving you so much. That means coasting after you get married is not really an option. Sorry. But the most important thing that you can do to protect yourself is to look for a woman of character. I know, like we just looked at, it can be hard to find. And you're probably going to have to compromise on some of the stuff that you want from a woman. But whatever you compromise on, do not compromise on this. Her character is the number one thing that will protect you from her leaving you and ruining your life. So if you're going to be in a relationship, make sure that she has a strong foundation of biblical morality and that she sticks with it, because Jesus has some things to say about marriage and divorce, but it doesn't matter what Jesus has to say about it if she doesn't care what Jesus has to say about it. Even more important than that, though, if you can only have one character trait with a woman, look for empathy. There's a story that I think it's Dr. Henry Cloud tells in one of his books about how he asked an entire class to punch him in the face. Of course, all of them said no, so he asked them why. Why wouldn't you punch me in the face? And most people, gave kind of a moral answer, right? It would be wrong. Dude, I couldn't do that. That would be the wrong thing to do. That's illegal. That's assault. I could go to jail for that. Of course I'm not going to punch you. Except for one woman who, when he asked her, why wouldn't you punch me in the face? She said, because it would hurt you. Then he asked everyone else in the class, who do you trust the most right now? And everyone pointed at the woman who said, because it would hurt you. Why? Because morality and laws will only go so far to stop you. If you really want to do something, you'll find a way to justify it to yourself. And we see that happening all the time. Caring about another person is the number one thing that will prevent us from hurting other people. Now, of course, if a woman has that empathy, you want to honor that. Love her the way that Christ loved the church. Sacrifice yourself for her. Give her every reason to want you. All I'm saying is, if a woman shows you that she doesn't care when she hurts another person, then you have nothing to protect you. If she doesn't care how her actions affect other people, morality won't stop her, ethics and laws won't stop her, her friends won't stop her, she's going to do whatever feels best for her. And that's not a woman that you'll be safe with. So, out of everything that you can look for, try to find a woman that has empathy. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to leave you guys with a word of encouragement, because I know a lot of this is really heavy. I found a video that kind of gave a different perspective on this whole black pill dating exodus thing that's going on. It's weirdly encouraging. Take a look.
This is from David Goggins. It's so easy to be great because most of the world is weak. The bar has never been set lower. A bit of consistency, a bit of intentionality, a bit of resilience, and a gram of talent will make you into an absolute killer.
Yeah, that is kind of the good news, because for as hard as things are right now, the bar isn't quite as high as you might think, precisely because so many guys are giving up. Right? You don't actually have to do that much stuff for a woman to perk up and be like, ooh, that's a rare specimen right there. I want me some of that. And it's true, if you put in just a little bit of consistent effort over a long enough period of time, you can build something out of the raw materials that God's given you. And I mean, if you read the parable of the talents, that's exactly what God expects us to do. You can strengthen your mind, your heart, your faith, your skills, your confidence. You can become that outward flowing person that gives enjoyment and peace to the people around you instead of needing it from them. Okay, so a random thought that popped into my head. Think of attraction like a Crunchwrap Supreme. It doesn't have to do anything to beg you to feast upon its beef, right? It doesn't have to try to make you want it the way that we as guys try to make a woman like us. It has the thing that you want. And so it draws you in like a magnet. And in today's dating market, it doesn't take that much to set yourself apart from all the beef and cheese that just hasn't put itself together yet. Once you've done some of that work for a consistent period of time, you have that stuff that women are hungry for, those check boxes you talked about earlier. It's just a matter of time before they magically start to find themselves around you more and more. They start to orbit you instead of ignoring you while you're in their orbit. So the bottom line is, yes, it is going to be a lot tougher for you than it would have been for your grandpa or for your dad, for that matter. But so what? That just means that you have to be a better man than they were. And you can be. If you're not asking the question, what can I do better next time? Things are not about to get better for you. There isn't going to be a good relationship for you just around the corner. But if you are putting in that work, then it's always too soon to quit, because you never know when you're going to cross that threshold and find that the woman you've been looking for your whole life starts looking at you like you're a snack. And it feels pretty good when that happens. To the guys who are on the path, but they're thinking about quitting, who knows? You might just be getting out of the game right before things get good for you. Anyways, that's my thought. If you have more thoughts, leave them down in the comments. If you want to see more of this type of stuff, hit the subscribe button. Helps out the channel a ton. If you want to work on your attractiveness, your confidence, or your presence, or even just your game plan for your life, that's something we can work on one-on-one. Check the link below, send me a message. And if you want to see more about how to deal with the ick, check out this video right here. That's all I got this time. Stay weird. Peace.